Hey, it's Darryl Syms, and today I probably look a little bit red and a little bit tired, and that's because I've been in the ocean surfing, and with the combination of the salt water and the exercise, I am quite exhausted, but I'm still here with a brand new 2-Minute Tuesday. So in today's 2-Minute Tuesday, we're going to be looking at how to tidy up and clean up some of your bends and vibrato, because I know a lot of people struggle with string noise and things like that. So I'm going to be showing you some real close-up angles on how to fix that, along with an exercise for you to try. Let's bang 2 minutes on the clock. The one thing that people tend to struggle with most is string noise. Now for this, we're going to be using both hands. So first we're going to focus on the left hand, what I do here. We're going to be playing in the key of B minor, and I'm just going to take some pentatonic notes to start off, starting with the 9th fret on the G string. We're going to bend that up a whole step. Now pay close attention to the formation of my fingers here. Notice that they're all touching, 3 fingers. I'm bending with the 3rd finger, and the 2nd and 1st finger are there to support that. And particularly if we dissect that, the 3rd finger is the leading finger for the bend, the 2nd finger is just accompanying that, and the 1st finger is slightly higher than the other 2, so that it's actually just touching the string or 2 strings above that, which stops you from getting this noise. So notice when I use that finger to my advantage, there's no background noise. Now if we focus on the right hand, if I do the same bend, you'll notice that the top of the palm here is actually muting the top string. Now if I was bending a note on the bottom string, I would actually mute a few strings, maybe the top 3, and then the 1st finger would come in to mute the remaining 1 and 2 strings that I can't mute with the palm. Because of course if my palm is too low, I actually mute the bend entirely. Like so. Another thing that you want to bear in mind here is that you need to make sure you've got a nice arch on your fingers and that your fingers are relatively flat, because flat fingers are going to mute the strings that you're not playing. If your fingers are too tall and you're right on the tips of your fingers, it's more likely that you're going to get a lot of that extra noise, especially if you're doing vibrato. Versus if I do the same thing but bring my thumb over the top, which allows my fingers to flatten out, sounds a lot cleaner. And again, if we check out the right hand, when we do that vibrato, the top of my palm is muting the top strings, and I also actually use the side of the thumb on the picking hand there to mute the strings above. So if we watch that carefully again, if I pick the 9th fret on the G, you see how the thumb is muting those top 2 strings, and the finger is very high also. The thumb is more of a backup really. You shouldn't actually need it if your left hand is controlling and flattening out. Particularly that 1st finger should be muting the bottom 2 strings, just touching them very gently. See, I can take the right hand off entirely, and the left hand's doing all of the work here. It really is all about finger placement, having a giant finger here if you like, and bringing that thumb over the top to allow your fingers to flatten out. Another common mistake that people tend to make is that they'll move these outer knuckles as they do the vibrato or the bend, so it looks a bit like this, and that's not only going to weaken your bend and weaken the pressure that you're pushing on the strings, but it'll also encourage the strings to actually go on top of the fingers, and that can hurt. So you don't want to be moving the fingers at all. You want to be pivoting off the side of the finger here, so you can see the fingers pretty much remain in the same place entirely. So here's a good bend. So as you can see, when I mute, there's no background noise. If I add in some background noise, so you see I mute the string there, the A and the D strings are just ringing very slightly and quietly in the background there. Perhaps my fingers weren't flat enough, perhaps my palm could have come in on the right hand to mute those top strings. There's a few things that you can try here to clean up your bends and vibrato. And there's just one more thing I want you to take away before we wrap up, and that's if we play a B minor scale across the G string exclusively, now we're going to take each of those notes and bend them up a whole tone or half tone, whichever is the next note in the scale. And I want you to do it as clean as possible. You can also do this with vibrato. Let's start with vibrato. So we're going to go. And if you're finding this all quite easy so far, perhaps you could try the same exercise, but with bends and vibrato. So there we go, that's it for today's 2-Minute Tuesday. And just one more thing I want to try from a suggestion last week, and that's chord progression of the week. Let me know if you made it this far in the comments below, and if you can figure out the chords in that progression, and maybe you can expand on them and create some kind of cool melody. And if you do, share it on Instagram and tag me at Darryl Syms. I'll be sure to check it out, give it a like, comment, and all of that cool stuff. And until next time, I will see you in the next video.